I'm here at ETH Denver with Charles Guillemet from Ledger, CTO, and co-founder Amir from matcha.xyz. And if you could perhaps introduce yourselves, just a brief introduction, say what you do, what brought you to crypto. Let's go.
Sure. So Charles Guillemet, I'm CTO at Ledger. My background is cryptography and security. Those are topics I'm interested in since I'm 12. And I worked in this area for my whole career. I discovered Bitcoin in 2011, and at this time I really studied the cryptography and the decentralized consensus, all of this. And I studied it because a friend of mine was talking about it like every day. So this is what I did. And after my study, I told him, like, your Bitcoin thing, it's really interesting. The technology is really interesting, but it doesn't go anywhere. There was no use case. So when I joined Ledger in 2017, he asked me if I finally got it. And I think I finally got it. And what I really like in Bitcoin is the permissionless aspect. And what I do at Ledger is I care about everything related to the technology, so engineering, architecture, security, infrastructure, everything related to technology, and the technology is something important at Ledger, as you can imagine.
Great. Amir?
I'm Amir, got into crypto around 2013. First discovered Bitcoin while I was working at a proprietary trading firm. We were trading treasuries, so I was like very in tune with the macro economy and stuff, and just naturally understood the value proposition of Bitcoin from that angle. Kind of fell down the rabbit hole, a few years later, discovered Ethereum, and just really understood that this technology could do so much more, and couldn't stop thinking about it. Decided to leave my job in trading and get into the crypto space. Met Will, my co-founder, shortly after, and we decided to start something together. But pivoted a little bit from our original idea, but eventually landed on 0x because so many of the teams we were talking to at the time required exchange functionality in their apps, and there was just no good way to do it. So we set out to solve that problem and create a standard decentralized exchange protocol.
Super. So Charles, just to kind of get a background on Ledger, it's one of the biggest brands in crypto, and what do you think makes it so unique and allowed it to hold that position for the last decade now?
When you own Bitcoin, when you own cryptocurrency, the security is really something really important. And first of all, owning means self-custody. This is something that is really important to understand. If you think you own Bitcoin, when you have Bitcoin on your Revolut account, you are completely wrong. Owning Bitcoin, owning cryptocurrency means being in self-custody. So self-custody is the important part, and when you are in self-custody, the security is very important. And this is really what we do. This is really the mission of Ledger. And the best way to secure your product, to secure your cryptocurrency, is hardware. I think there is no better way to do that. And doing hardware is not that easy. You have to build the hardware, you have to build the software running on top of it, the firmware. All of this requires significant skills and resources. So that's why there are not so many hardware wallet players. And what makes Ledger really unique is the fact that we don't do any compromise with security. We are using secure elements. Our architecture is really designed for security and so on. I think that will be the first point. And the second one is the decision we took in the past of having an open platform strategy. That means that anyone in the ecosystem can build its own app running on our device, can build the support of the blockchain on Ledger Live and so on. And that's why now we are supporting a very large number of different blockchain and different tokens. And I think those are the two reasons. The fact that we are supporting all these protocols and we have an open platform, and the fact that we're taking security very seriously, no compromise with security.
I'm kind of curious what you think the end game of self-custody looks like. Obviously, crypto is still not quite mainstream yet. If we live in a world where billions of people are using crypto in their daily lives, where do you see Ledger fitting into that? Do you think the majority of people will be self-custodying?
it's a good question because self-custody is not that easy. There is a lot of friction, there is the security question, there is the fact that you need to understand a little bit how these things work, and it's very different from having a bank account. So it's possible that in the next waves of adoption, more and more users won't be in self-custody, but this is also our responsibility to explain why self-custody is important. And it depends what you do with your crypto. If you only buy hoping that the value will increase, in this case, self-custody makes less sense. But as soon as you want to use your crypto to do different things, then you have to do self-custody. And then this is our mission to make the experience easier. And this is what we are trying to do. This is not easy, but no compromise with security. And from this, we are trying to improve the UX so that it's as easy as possible to onboard in the crypto world with the ledger security.
I mean, I'll say I definitely use my ledger more than I use my bank.
I just want to jump back to something you said about the open ecosystem, and it's great that you can have all these developers from different teams coming in and creating their apps for Ledger Live and so on, and for the firmware. So how do you coordinate that in such a rapidly accelerating and propagating ecosystem? And I suppose that applies to 0x as well, where you've got hundreds of different teams working on the same platform. So let's start with you.
So the device itself was an open platform from day one. It was an operating system plus application, and it was possible for anyone to build the app. Ledger Live, that was not the case at the beginning. So at the beginning we were building the app on our own because the ecosystem was small and developers, not so many developers. And very quickly we understood that it was not possible to support all this protocol, all this new blockchain, all these new tokens only on our end. And this is when we understood that it was better to bet on the ecosystem, to explain them to how to build on top of Ledger. And instead of putting our resources on building these apps, we have put these resources on building the tools, creating the ecosystem, creating the developer platform, developer portal, all of this, and it worked very, very well. You have a big multiplier effect. When with one engineer you will build maybe the support of one chain in 1 year. With this methodology, one engineer can support 10 different foundations that will build the support of their protocol in the Ledger ecosystem. So it works very well. And then as soon as the implementation is done, we have a security assessment process to make sure what they built is secure, and we are making sure that they will maintain the support in the time, because having an application one day is good, but if you don't maintain it, it doesn't work. So we have implemented all of this, and it works very well. And this is also why we are here today, to discuss with the ecosystem, with different foundations, and create these links between Ledger and this foundation, and make sure they implement their protocol in Ledger. So at the beginning that was a little bit difficult. Now it's really the reverse. All the protocol and the blockchain come to us and are like, how do I support my blockchain on Ledger? And then we can explain them how to do. And sometimes they have the developer in-house, and their developers do that. Sometimes they don't, and in this case we are redirecting them to third party that we trust, and they work with them so that the third party build the app, and then when everything is fine, secure, we publish the app on Ledger Live and so on.
Are there elements of the technology that allow all these open integrations to be secure, or is it kind of a manual process and you need to audit all of them?
So first of all, the operating system itself has several security guarantees, and that implement, for instance, it implements isolation. So if you build your Solana app, the Solana app won't be able to touch your Bitcoin keys. It's not possible. There is this notion of isolation. There are different security features like this. Also, we have different guidelines in terms of how do you build your app securely and so on. And finally, the security evaluation is a mix of automated process, automated scanning, and so on, and manual testing, because in security there are always like logic issues, buffer overflow, like plenty of different vulnerabilities that are difficult to find like automatically.
So I think my next question would be like crypto wallets in general are quite technical for users, and what do you see as the next technologies, such as perhaps like count abstraction or other forms of other approaches to wallets that are really going to help take crypto to the next stage of adoption?
I'm really excited by account abstraction in general. I think it's a very interesting idea. When you think about it, EOA is the prehistory. Like you can't do anything with EOA. An account is just a public key, and that's it. The blockchain has absolutely no other information than this. Then with account abstraction, you can implement some logic that can be arbitrarily complex on chain. And this idea is really, really powerful. The only issue I see, we are at the beginning of this, is that there is no real standard. 4337 is an interesting framework, but it's not a standard. Like now we are seeing plenty of different implementation of account abstraction, and it will create some fragmentation until like one standard gets better than the other, and then we will see this standard to emerge. And when I think about it, there are interesting ideas that you can implement with account abstraction. For instance, you can say on the assets that are held in this account, you can spend maybe up to 100 USD, the equivalent of 100 USD per day, only signing with your phone. And as soon as you want to spend more than this, or you want to spend like this very valuable NFT, at least for you, then you need your Ledger device to sign this type of transaction. And this kind of logic can be implemented very easily with account abstraction. And I think this is part of the future of what you can do. Recovery is also interesting with account abstraction. So I'm very excited to see this. Another issue is that so far it's quite expensive in terms of fees when you interact with the smart contract, and on Ethereum mainnet it won't change. So there is still this issue because it works well for L2, but not for the main layer, the main L1. So we'll see how it goes in the future, because it could also create fragmentation in the experience for user. On Bitcoin, it has an EOA. On Ethereum, also an EOA for and different L2 account abstracted, but one different AA per blockchain. So in terms of experience, it won't be ideal, but I'm excited to see this happening. I'm looking forward to being in like 2 years and see how all of this converge to something more standard and less fragmented.
Is Ledger building anything specifically for account abstraction? Like the flow you described where you could have your phone for smaller quantities or your Ledger for larger quantities using the same smart contract wallet seems really useful. Like, is that something you've thought about implementing kind of an abstraction for?
Yeah, we are doing some innovation, some research at Ledger, and we have built this experience as a POC. And by the way, we have also implemented a fast way to verify a signature coming from the NIST curve, allowing to do passkeys. And this is our implementation that is used everywhere now. It's a public good, so it's great. But for now, for us, it's really doing some research. But we don't really want to push all our users to this experience because, again, we don't know where it goes. So we are doing research. We are helping the ecosystem using this type of tools. And as soon as there will be like a strong standard and on which we can bet on the future, then we will make sure like the Ledger device is well integrated in these experiences. But I'm not sure we will lead these new experiences, not at first at least.
Okay, so let's just skip ahead maybe and talk a bit about how crypto is becoming increasingly fragmented with different DEXs, chains, and use cases. So what challenges does that pose for Ledger, and how do you solve it? Is it still back to the open ecosystem, or do you foresee more challenges ahead?
So again, in terms of supporting all these new L2, it will require a lot of work on our end. Also supporting AA is a new logic inside our wallet, so this is something that we will have to implement. So it will be a lot of work. Also for users, L2 are great and so on, but you need to bridge your assets from one L2 to another, or from your L1 to L2. So we will have to implement this bridge properly inside the swap experience probably. So yeah, that will create a ton of more work for us. Nonetheless, it will create more experience for the users, and this is plenty of interesting opportunity. But again, I think we are really in this moment where there are plenty of L2, plenty of things. The experience will be very fragmented. The liquidity also for DeFi will be very fragmented. And at some point, some of these L2 will win, and we will see less different L2s. Yeah, we'll see. There are a few projects I'm interested in terms of L2. Those who achieve full EVM compatibility have a very big edge. So Scroll is one of them, zkSync kind of. Also, there are others. Also, there are a few other chains that are taking another angle, such as Starknet, which are interesting as well. So pretty exciting to see where it goes. But yeah, it creates a fragmented experience and tons of work for us.
And it's the same on the matcha side, no? It's with the bridging and having to have gas on every chain. So how is matcha dealing with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think just kind of defragmenting everything and abstracting away complexity is probably the biggest challenge in this space. It's like every time someone creates a new technology, it pushes the space forward, but it also makes it more complex, which makes it harder for new people to get in. So it's this constant push-pull, and I mean that's like the main value proposition of matcha, right? We don't want people to think about what liquidity source, what pools they need to go through, or anything like that. What chain they're using. Like you should just be able to find any token you want and easily trade it.
Could be a nice integration for Ledger.
Yeah, that's true. And we are seeing a high growth in terms of adoption and so on. And we are a little bit OG, you and I, us, and we expect a little bit that these new users will understand what we are talking about. It's not a good idea. We need to abstract this complexity, but it's not easy to do it. But for now, it's really it's a bit nerdy. We have to say it.
So we're coming up on time. So I just wanted to ask, what do you wish people would understand more about Ledger if they don't, and perhaps what verticals or what developments you're most excited about?
What I really like people to understand about Ledger is the importance of self-custody. I was saying it at the beginning of our discussion, because having a Bitcoin on your Revolut account is not being in crypto. This is something completely different, and self-custody is really the power of crypto. If there is no self-custody, crypto has absolutely no interest. It's pointless. I agree. So this would be my main thing I'd like people to understand. And then when you enter into the world of crypto, there are a few things to understand. The importance of not losing your 24 words. All of this is also important. In terms of verticals, I'm especially interested in Web3 gaming. I think it will be something important, at least on 24. And even more interesting by all the experience related to self-sovereign identity, being able to prove that you are yourself in a sovereign manner. This is very powerful, and this is, if I had to define Web3, it's a little bit hazy, I think that would be the important angle for me, the fact that you can own your identity, prove that you are yourself without relying on third party. I think this is really powerful, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of those experiences.
Super. Do you have a prediction for the future of things that you'd like to see expanded?
Prediction for the future? I'm personally very interested in seeing more just consumer use cases. I think that we just need to kind of see more on the demand side to really make this technology go mainstream. all very focused on building infrastructure, but yeah, that in itself will not get us there. So yeah, like gaming, I think, is one example of a consumer use case that's very exciting.
It's a good one. In the last cycle, we had no infrastructure, and as soon as someone tried to build like an application, even a simple application such as OpenSea, like it completely broke Ethereum. You couldn't use Ethereum anymore just because OpenSea was live. So that was not acceptable. So we built all this scalability layer. Now they are available. There are plenty of progress to do, but we have made big progress in a very short amount of time. So it's great. And now we are in the reverse situation. We have the infra, but not so much application apart from DeFi, which is already big. Yeah, it's coming, but I think it's coming. Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much for joining us. This has been a real pleasure, and thanks for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, so thank you.